Merci, Monsieur le Président. Le sujet de cette session sont les ressources naturelles et, comme vous venez de dire, le mot eau a été touché par différents intervenants dans cette session. Mais ce que je voudrais ajouter au débat aujourd'hui, c'est, pour employer des mots qui rendent mieux en anglais, c'est développer un safe operating space pour la gestion partagée des ressources en eau. Et aussi voir quelles sont les contraintes que la pénurie d'eau imposera de plus en plus dans le futur sur le développement social et économique. Indeed, some assessments show that by the year 2030, there will be a gap between water supply and water demand in the order of 40% globally. And there will be also a six-fold increase of population living in water-stressed countries. In June this year, the bank group HCBC has published a report which anticipates that the global, by 2050, the global GDP, 25% of the global GDP will be produced in the 10 most populated river basins in the world, mainly in Africa, India, and China, as long as water scarcity is addressed. This issue of water scarcity has been picked up by many countries and also international organizations. For instance, we have seen a recent report published by OECD and UNEP, but also the European Commission has included water in its document called A Roadmap Towards a Resource-Efficient Europe, where the word water is mentioned 71 times. So the problems that Europe and Africa especially are facing today in the field of water are going to be exacerbated by climate change. And this is adding and increasing conflicts among the different users, as it was mentioned earlier on, both within a given river basin, but also at a transboundary level. So matching availability and demand of water needs to be evaluated in terms of competing objectives of the different sectors. That means human consumption versus agriculture, industry, energy, take into account, of course, also the need of environment. If we consider that 40% of water is, as an average, used for energy production and cooling, and worldwide 70% is used for irrigation in agriculture, with figure changing regionally, we see that the nexus water, agriculture, energy is that we may translate as water, food, energy nexus is the area where water saving and efficiency should be improved in order to avoid scarcity. This is one of those vital sectors with complementary needs for many countries where an Atlantic cooperative initiative might take place. It has been mentioned a few times today by Mr. Jacques Laxaud and Madame Asia Ben Salah Alaoui, and also by Mr. Bayadao. We have to select a few topics. The way that we need to organize it has to be discussed, but one idea could be to have an assessment of the water, agriculture, energy nexus in the Atlantic space through maybe ad hoc workshops, meetings, and so on. There is another issue that we should consider, that in addition there are sustainability and security concerns which invite to look beyond our regions of belonging. Indeed, many services provided by ecosystems in a certain part of the world benefit society in another part of the world. This happens for many natural resources, but staying with water as an example, you have to consider that the daily consumption of water for European citizens, taking into account also indirect consumption, that means water required to produce agricultural and industrial products, is in the order of 4,800 liters per day, against just 114 liters per day per capita for domestic uses. And of these 4,800 liters, about 25% only are using European waters, while the remaining 75% is produced elsewhere in the world. So if we take, for instance, Atlantic countries, when the Ivory Coast exports cocoa to Europe, it also exports annually something like 17 cubic kilometers of hidden water, and 51 cubic kilometers is the virtual water flow of Brazil to Europe when they export soybean and coffee, while 31 cubic kilometers of virtual water is associated to USA export to Europe together with soybean, wheat, and industrial products. Of course, this does not want to be a message pushing companies out of water scarce areas, but this message has to be considered if we, because we need to develop a good water stewardship. It also shows the importance of consumption patterns and global dimension in water governance, which should be taken into account when water management plans of partner countries are being developed and how they match, for instance, with the EU policies. So, in this respect, Europe and Atlantic countries could work together in the development of sustainable water management plans that at the same time ensure local access to water and sanitation, increase water efficiency by improving the choice of crops and other products, and then here we have a link with innovation, and then shift the economy toward less water-intensive activities. And this could be done under the EU development policy and maybe a possible initiative for an Atlantic community. A good example in relation to this is the network of centers of excellence on water science in Africa and in Latin America, established by European Commission under the Europe Aid mechanism. There are two regional African networks, one in Southern Africa, and the second one in Western Africa, including, for instance, Burkina Faso, Ghana, Nigeria, and Senegal. And then we have the America Latina, the Centro de Excelencia en Agua, which is a network that involves 16 countries on the two sides of the Atlantic in Latin America, Brazil, Argentina, Colombia, and others, and in Europe, Spain and Portugal. So this center of excellence can be considered as a discussion table where policymakers and local technical and scientific institutions can jointly identify and tackle solutions in the water sector in local at regional level. And this is the type of networks that should be further established in order to facilitate the implementation of initiatives for the Atlantic space. To conclude, I would like to join the few speakers that today asked to link much more in terms of network, research, and education. Thank you.